You know, we are all living inside of stories. Whether we even realize it or not, our lives are being shaped by these powerful narratives. Stories about who we are, where we came from, and what we're capable of. So where do these stories even come from? And what happens when they come from wildly different places? Okay, so picture this. A pop star who famously changed his name to a symbol you can't even pronounce. A comedian who's finding deep life lessons in a pair of cheap shoes. And a men's rights activist who's taking on the family court system. It honestly sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, right? But here's the thing, it's not a joke. There is this powerful, invisible thread that connects every single one of them. And trust me, by the end of this, you're not only going to know what it is, you're going to see how that exact same thread is running through your own life too. All right, let's dive in. Our journey really begins with something universal, something we all do. We search for answers. We all have this deep need to understand our place in the world and, just make sense of it all. As one source puts it, this is an extraordinary journey that asks those same age-old questions. And look, this isn't some new age fad. This is a timeless search for meaning that basically defines what it means to be human. And that search, it always starts with one fundamental question. Yup, who am I? According to the documentary 3 Magic Words, we so often get stuck on the surface, don't we? We buy into the story that, oh, I am my skin color, I am my age. But this question, it really pushes us to go deeper, to get past the easy labels and begin the real work of self-discovery. So when we ask that massive question, where do we even begin to look for the answer? Well, very often, we find ourselves looking out at the big systems, the structures, and the stories that are all around us. And this right here, this sets up a fundamental conflict in how we see the world. Do we find the answers within ourselves, in our own thoughts and emotions, or do we look without at the external systems that kind of dictate how we live? The case for looking within suggests that, our internal world is the source of everything. The film Emotion 2.0, for instance, proposes that our unprocessed traumas and anxieties are the actual cause of our problems. So in this story, the path to getting better is an inside job. But then you have the total opposite argument, looking without. Just take the music legend Prince. For him, the battle wasn't with his own trapped emotions. No way. It was with his record label. He saw the whole music business as a systemic machine, one designed to exploit artists. His fight was against a massive external force. And this way of explaining the world, blaming the system, it's definitely not just for multi-millionaire musicians. We see this logic pop up everywhere, applied to completely different problems by totally different groups of people. For instance, in a discussion about obesity, Dr. Mike Israetel suggests it's an internal system. He's saying that inherent traits, things like conscientiousness and food drive, are the main factors. So it's a narrative that's rooted in our own biology and genetics. On the flip side, the documentary The Red Pill presents a story where men's struggles in custody battles are caused by an external system. In this view, the problem isn't the individual's behavior, it's a family court system that they claim is fundamentally biased. So you see what's happening? It's crucial. Whether the system is your own genetics, a corporate contract, or the courts, the underlying story is exactly the same. We have this powerful human tendency to try and make sense of our complicated lives by finding one single source for our problems. And it makes sense, right? It's just simpler that way. It gives us a clear target for our anger or our effort. But what if we aren't just characters in a story written by our biology or by society? What if we can actually become the authors? And this brings us to a really powerful idea. The idea of crafting your own identity. The classic book As a Man Thinketh argues that our reality literally grows from the seeds of our own thoughts. This narrative flips the script and puts the power right back in our hands. The story you tell yourself, inside your own mind, is the one that's going to become real. Now, what's really fascinating is how this philosophy can get turned into a literal blueprint. Some sources will actually lay out a step-by-step plan for you. First, you consciously define the person you want to become. Then you go through your habits, you redesign your living space, anything to support that new identity. And finally, you create non-negotiable rules. See, it's not just wishful thinking, it's like engineering a new you. And this quote just illustrates the idea so perfectly. A psychologist compares her work to architecture, but instead of constructing buildings, she's helping to construct a person. It frames identity not as something you discover, but as something you can consciously and intentionally build. But let's be real, trying to be the author of your own story isn't easy, especially when we're just constantly absorbing pre-written scripts from one of the most powerful storytelling machines on the planet, Hollywood. In the movie American Gigolo, the main character's identity is completely wrapped up in his job. So when he's asked to give it up, he feels like he's giving up his entire self, because he's bought into the story that it's all I'm good at. It's such a powerful reflection of how we can confuse the role we're playing with who we actually are. And Hollywood gives us these powerful scripts for our relationships too. In No Strings Attached, one character calls out another for this recurring pattern of self-sabotage. And these movie storylines, they can really shape our real-life expectations of love, conflict, and connection, sometimes without us ever knowing it. So, after looking at all these stories, the ones from within, the ones that blame the system, the ones we get from Hollywood, the only question left is, by far, the most important one. It all comes back to this one simple but incredibly profound truth. And this isn't just some nice-sounding phrase, it's a cognitive reality. The story you choose to play on a loop in your mind day in and day out literally builds the pathways in your brain that define who you are. So I'll just ask you directly, what story are you telling yourself? Is it one that you consciously chose for yourself, or is it one you just kind of inherited from a system, from a movie, or maybe from a belief you've never really stopped to question? Because ultimately, whether we look inward or outward or to the silver screen for answers, the final draft, well, that's up to us. Your life is the story. You are the author. It's time to start writing.